Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Krystle, just in case you are new here, and it's been a long time since I filmed something. I am so sorry I fell off the face of the earth. I've been busy. Life has been busy, which is good, but it kind of affected my reading for the summer. But today, for this video, I have one of my favorite videos to film for you guys, and that is my fall TBR. So let's just get into it. Welcome back to my channel, guys. It's been a long time since I sat down and filmed something for you. Lots have been happening. I'm getting married next year. I'm back to university this month. Lots of big things happening in my life, which kind of affected my reading this summer, but I am so ready to start reading in the fall. I feel the fall air coming in, even though it's like 85 degrees today, but it's happening and I'm all here for it. So my fall TBR is gonna just kind of be all over the place a little bit. This is just tentative. This is gonna be a part 1 video because I'm sure I'm gonna pick up some other books as well this fall. But just for now, these are the ones that I plan on reading pretty much this month and in October. So the first book that I have here is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. I've heard amazing things about this book. I'm so in the mood for a new fantasy series, and it also has that gothic Victorian feel to it. It also has some of our very well-known classic monsters in here, which I absolutely love, like Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. All those Victorian era classics are mentioned and kind of reflected in this series, so I'm really excited to get into this. It's like a mystery fantasy series from what I have heard, and it just sounds great, right up my alley. And I'm currently reading Eyre by Shelley Bronte, which is a classic, and it has been quite a long time since I've picked this up. I really don't remember much of it. I remember reading it for English lit class in high school, and that's pretty much all I remember about it. So I'm here revisiting this because I am taking a few literature courses this semester. So reading a little bit more of the classics will kind of get me a little bit more ready for my crazy semester ahead of me. So I'm looking forward to this book again, and it just has all the spooky gothic vibes that I'm feeling right now. The next book that I'm getting into is actually a nonfiction, and that is A Storm of Witchcraft, and this is by Emerson W. Baker. This is one of the most well-known books about Salem witch trials, and it's very factual, but also reads a little bit more entertaining than a textbook. So I'm picking this up to just kind of get myself lost into the history of the Salem witch trials, which really piques my interest all the time. You guys know I love visiting Salem, and because I can't visit Salem this year, I figured why not pick up a nonfiction about the history of it, so when I do go back and visit again, I'll be a little bit more well-read of the history of the town, and things will just kind of mean a lot more to me than they have in the past. The next book I want to pick up is this short story collection by Stephen King, which is Everything's Eventual, 14 Dark Tales. I love picking up short story collections during this time of year for the spooky season, and I've heard these are his most amazing spooky short stories. Last year around this time, I read Night Shift, which was one of my favorite short story collections of all time. One of my favorite Stephen King books of all time. It was such a great compilation of short stories, so I highly suggest you check those out if you have not already. They're just so good, so I'm hoping that this also gives me all those spooky feels that Night Shift has given me. Then next I picked up this YA, which is the Mary Shelley Book Club, or the Mary Shelley Club, sorry, by Goldie Mlodowski. This sounds so good. This is kind of based on Frankenstein, and it's about a girl in high school, and she's like a huge horror fan, so that's pretty much all I know about it. I think there's a murder that happens. It sounds very dark academia-ish because of the Mary Shelley references in this book, along with the dark horror aspects of it, so I'm really looking forward to getting to this spooky season. It sounds like one of the most perfect spooky reads. This is another current read of mine, and that is Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury, which is one of my favorite books of all time. I know this is Carol's favorite book of all time, one of her favorite Ray Bradburys, and she is hosting a read-along right now for this book, so go check out her channel if you haven't already. She is one of my co-hosts for the Horror in 24 book club, and she is hosting her own read-along for this amazing, beautiful classic book, and I love it so much. It is so atmospheric. If you want good atmosphere, pick up any of Ray Bradbury's books, but especially this one if you are wanting that Halloween spooky feel, Halloween Town vibes, all of that. So I love this book, and I'm really enjoying my reread of it right now. The next on my TBR is The House on Needless Street, and that is by Catriona Ward. I've heard really great things about this, but I also heard some mixed things about it, but it is like a mystery thriller that is kind of witchy from what I understand. I don't know much about this. I just know people love it, but no one really talks much about it. So I'm really intrigued to find out what this is about. I did get the UK copy of this because it did release earlier in the UK than it did in the US, but I believe the release date for this is September 28th in the US. So you do have time to pick up yourself up a copy before Halloween, before October. But yes, this is like high up in my TBR. I just want to know what it's about already. The next up I have our Horror in 24 book club pick, and that is The Forgotten Island by David Sottergren. I have been wanting to pick up more from this author, but I just haven't in a very long time, so I'm really excited to get into this with the book club and see what it's about. I know it does involve spiders, which is something that I am terrified of, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through it. So follow up on our live show if you want to see if I can get through this really spooky, scary book, because it seems really freaky. And horror's been kind of like on the edge for me lately. I'm very picky about my horror that I've been picking up. Yeah, so we shall see what happens. Next I have this spooky gothic haunted house book, and that is called Wakenhurst, and this is by Michelle Paver. I am really looking forward to getting to this book sometime this season. It's about a haunted house, but it also involves witchcraft, and you can kind of see the pagan elements on the cover of this book, which I think is so cool. There's so many different symbolism on here, so I'm really looking forward to picking this up soon, hopefully. I'll let you guys know when I get to it what my thoughts on it are. And then I picked up this little gem of a book, and it's called Mina and the Undead by Mccaw. I don't think this released yet in the US, but I did pick up my copy from the UK, and this is just like a vampire YA book. Takes place in the 90s. I'm totally getting like Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibes from this book, so that's why I picked it up. I also really love how like the pages have like dark edges to them. It just seems like a really fun book. It takes place in New Orleans, which I'm really loving because I want to know more about the folklore of New Orleans and their vampire history. It's just been very well known that vampires are very big down in New Orleans, so I'm looking forward to reading a little bit more into that as the season goes on. Then I have a well-loved mystery thriller here, and that is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This is a dark academia book based on, I don't even know, Greek mythology, I think, or something like that. I don't know much about this. I just know a lot of people really love this book, and I just started it. I'm about 40 pages in, and I love the way it starts off the bat. It has grabbed my attention, and this is probably going to be the book that I read for the next day or two. I definitely see myself flying through this, so I will let you know my thoughts in a wrap-up, and yeah, I'm excited. Then I also have a reread here, and that is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. Every year around this time, September 5th is when the novel starts, I start reading Salem's Lot again, and it just gives you all the fall vibe. This is one of his most atmospheric books, in my opinion. I just feel totally in the mood for fall once I pick this book up. Just his descriptions of Maine at this time of year, you just feel it in your bones, and it's so spooky, and it's about a vampire and vampires in this small town in the US. It's kind of like Dracula Comes to the US vibes, if you know what I mean. So definitely pick this up if you haven't already. It is one of my favorite of all time Stephen King books, and I just recommend it to everyone that's never read his books before. I would start with this one. And I also have this beauty, and that is The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman, which was so kindly sent to me by her and her publisher to pre-read before the release day. I want to say it's coming out, let's see, October 5th of this year. So if you're a fan of Alice Hoffman like I am, she is, oh, I love her so much. She is the sweetest woman in the world, and she has written one of my favorite stories of all time, Practical Magic. Well, probably my favorite story of all time, favorite movie of all time, Practical Magic. And I have here in my hands a advanced reader copy of the final book in her Practical Magic series, which is based on her Sally's daughter Kylie and her findings of the family history at their family library, which is so amazing. Sally becomes this like museum library curator of her own family history, basically. It's just, so far it's so good. I'm loving all the vibes, and I am going back to school to become a librarian, so I'm just, this book couldn't have come at a better time for me, and I'm just so excited to get more into this. Thank you again to the publisher for sending this my way. I'm so incredibly thankful to you and to Alice Hoffman for the amazing stories that this series has brought to my life. I have a couple books here that I have to read for school, which I'm not that excited about, but I figured I'd mention them here because I am going to be reading them in this season. And the first one I have here is Oh Pioneers, which is by Willa Cather, and I probably would have to say that this book is about pioneers and the pioneer life in the early like 1800s in the United States. I don't really know. It is an American Lit class, so this is one of our required readings, and I started reading it a little bit. It's not that boring. It actually seems pretty interesting, so I can't wait to read a little bit more of this and let you guys know. But I've never heard of this. I don't know if this is considered a classic, but obviously I will find out more about this book as time goes on. The next I have here, Our Town, and this is by Thornton Wilder, and this is like a small town story, and I want to say it's like a play. It says it's a play in 3 acts. It looks like it takes place in the fall, so you have this beautiful fall foliage on the cover here. I'm kind of getting Stars Hollow vibes here, but we shall see what this story brings to my life. I will let you guys know once I read it, but I haven't read like play format in a very long time, so this should be really interesting to break down and get into. Then next I have one that I've been dreading to read, but also excited to read, and that is As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. This is a classic. Of course, my camera died while I was talking about that book, but As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. Now, this is like a book about a family in the South walking their loved one to like their burial, I want to say. So it's like they're carrying this dead body, and it's very like lyrical, and it's very philosophical, I'm assuming. And it's been talked about for years and years and years. So I am really kind of excited to finally get into this because it's been on my TBR for a long time, and I've been wanting to read a little bit more classic American literature. So yeah, it's happening this semester. Let me know if you've read that book and what your thoughts were on it. I'd love to know before getting into it. And then next I have The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This is part of the syllabus as well. This is our, I want to say this might be our first novel that we're reading in the course, but this is like an American classic too as well, and I have a really cool professor. Picked a really cool book. I'm really excited. This is kind of reminiscent to what we're going through today. It's kind of like The World Ends, similar to The Stand by Stephen King. Like, that's the type of vibe I get from it, when it's this father and son who are pretty much left over in this world that pretty much ended, and they're just on this road discovering life again, basically. So yeah, lots of praise for this book, lots of awards for this book. I'm looking forward to it. Next I have a book that I'm going to be rereading, or at least trying to, and that is The Physic Book of Deliverance, Dane by Katherine Howe. I read this book years and years ago, probably before I started YouTube, and I don't really remember it. I think I just kind of breezed through it and don't remember much, but it does take place in Salem, Massachusetts, where our girl inherits a family home, and she's going through all of her past, I think it's her grandmother's house. She's going through the paperwork, and she's finding like witchy things in the house. And then she comes across this book, this Physic book by Deliverance Dane, and this is like an ancestor of hers that pretty much was accused during the witch trials. So I really enjoy Katherine Howe's writing. I've read another book by her, Conversion, which is a YA Salem, like historical fiction type book. So I'm really looking forward to get to this so I could read her second book in this series. But yeah, I just love anything about witchcraft, especially in September. Kind of gets you in the mood for, you know, October and spooky books. I haven't really picked my like tentative, my permanent October TBR, because I kind of want to just see what readathons are going on for the fall and see with my classes if I'm going to be able to read that much. But these are the books that I definitely want to read this fall so far. I'm sure for October I'll have a lot more spookier books to talk about, so that's why I'm going to do a part 2 of this video, because I'm sure more will pop up as time goes on. But I've been in a reading mood, which is really exciting for me, because I haven't all summer, between wedding planning, family stuff going on, figuring out back to school life, and work. It's just been a lot on my plate, along with the Etsy shop, which unfortunately I'm going to put on pause after this season. So make sure you get all your spooky book sleeves now, because in the middle of the semester, I'm just not going to be making any book sleeves or doing anything really with the Etsy shop for a while, because school is just really important and I'm getting married, so I can't just do all of this at once. But I will be putting out content for you. I'm also going to vlog a little bit of me going back to school, because I am in my 30s now. I'm 33 years old. I'm going back to university to finish something that I started, and I'm really excited about it, but I'm really nervous about it. And I feel that at this point in my life, I'm getting married, I don't have kids yet, and I just think I need to finish this and get it done, because it will make me so much happier if it is done. And nothing is worse than leaving things open-ended and not finished, you know what I mean? So finishing school is my bucket list, and I'm starting on it now, and I'm really excited about the journey. Let me know if you've made this journey. Let me know the routes you took for your degree. My goal, my infinite goal, was to have a master's in library science and technology, you know, get my MLIS, but you know, that does take some time and a lot of struggling in between getting married. We'll see what happens with getting a master's, but the bachelor's is on its way. So just let me know what you guys think. Let me know what the steps you took to get your degree, if you are in that business of, if you are in the library sciences business, if you are a teacher, let me know, or even a librarian at a school, at a campus, something. Let me know what routes you took to get yourself there, because that is my goal for my future, and I'm really excited about it. So fall is coming. Make sure you are following Horror in 24, the book club that I run with a bunch of my really good friends. All links to that will be linked down below. We are going to be reading Pet Sematary in October, and also Autumn Crow High by Cameron Chaney, who is also a fellow booktuber, and that's his newest release. If you read Autumn Crow last year, it was so freaking good. So he's having a spin-off series off of Autumn Crow, and it's called Autumn Crow High. So I'm really excited to see what he did with his whole Autumn Crow world, because I loved it so much reading it, and I can't wait to revisit that. And he will probably be on our live show for that as well. So make sure you are following us for all the details so you can join in on all the fun. We also have a Discord for that book club as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. I'm sorry it's been so long, and I hope these books sound like something that you'd want to read too for the spooky season, or at least to get you in the mood for fall. I have so many arcs on my Kindle that I want to read, so many books that I'm excited about. I'm really excited about Cackle by Rachel Harrison, which is like a book about a witch and a girl's like interviewing her, I think. It sounds really cool. Also, I'm looking forward to Horseman by Christina Henry, which is kind of like a retelling of Sleepy Hollow, and I'm looking forward to that as well because Christina Henry does horror so well and I really enjoy her books. I also have so many other books that I want to get to, but it seems that I'm not going to be able to get to all of them, but the ones that I do get to, I will let you guys know with a reading update in the future. So thank you so much for watching my channel, and if you're new here, please make sure you like and subscribe down below. Comment down below with any questions that you have for me, and also make sure you're following me on Instagram because I do update a lot more on there than I do on here, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. And yeah, on that note, guys, I will be talking to you guys soon. Stay spooky, friends. Bye!